Okay, this is session 2A, I guess. It's not session 3 yet, but just a couple more thoughts about covenant, engagement, frequency, location. And so I think these are important aspects for us to continue to think about and understand. So one of the things we want to talk about is basically you need to think about sort of the rules of engagement. And I would use this term covenant here for you to think about. So again, what you're thinking about is how often will your group meet. You're thinking about where your group will meet, what your group will do, what the evening will look like, and you need to have sort of a basic framework for that for your first meeting. You need to make sure that people can engage in that and understand that, and you can also allow some flexibility to adjust that in certain ways, which again enables the group to feel like they're participating and have a say in how the group life is going to go. Now, we got a challenge here though, because in the frequency, one of the things that we've decided to do here at CLC is to ask every group to meet for basically 6 weeks in a row. So we're asking them to meet once a week for 6 weeks. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we believe that it's really important to get immersed in each other's lives. And this is a way of giving you a lot of time together up front, which will pay in the long run. If you think about it the opposite way, like let's say that you decide that your group is going to meet every other week. And then all of a sudden you have 2 group members that miss a meeting. Well, that means you haven't seen each other for a month. It's a lot harder to catch up with that sort of less frequent meeting than if you're actually putting a lot of effort up front to get to know each other. So we're challenging groups to meet for 6 weeks in a row, and then at the end of that 6 weeks to have another meeting to basically talk about then what is your small group rhythm going to look like. At that point, you may decide you want to meet every other week. You may decide you want to keep going every week. That's really whatever you want to do. We just want to help you get to know each other as quickly as possible, because we think that that will really aid you in your small group life. So that's what we're looking at. If you have concerns about that, I'd love to talk with you about it, love to help in any way we can. Another piece of that in the covenant is you got to think about location. So here's the challenge again. If you're the leader, I don't think you should be the host. I really think you need to be looking for somebody who's willing to host. We have actually, along with people who have said that they're willing to lead, we do have a list of hosts that's beginning to emerge. So, or maybe you know somebody who you feel like just has that gift of hospitality. You know how you can tell somebody has the gift of hospitality? They work hard to make people feel welcome wherever they're at. So you'll notice that here at the church, but you'll also notice that in your actual small group. Whoever it is that's really concerned about everybody feeling comfortable, everybody feeling like they're welcome, everybody feeling like they're at home. And you know what, actually people that really have the gift of hospitality, they don't even care if the house is clean, because to them that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is for people to be there and know that they're loved and valued. So look for somebody who has that gift of hospitality. That will be really important. That will also then dictate your location, because you want to make sure that you're able to, get people meeting. Somebody who's willing to open up their house to do that would be really important. With location, it's okay also to take time to actually share, different times you meet at different people's houses. Sometimes groups will say, hey, let's all take a week, or let's all take, a time we're going to meet at each person's house. Now, with that, I would just challenge you to be sensitive to that, because some people do not feel like they can have people over at their house. Sometimes they have reasons for that. Like, for example, maybe there's some dynamic, like a sick relative that lives with them, or something else, or maybe it's even animals, like they have dogs that aren't really friendly to visitors. All kinds of things can happen. So don't make that mandatory. And also, I would say that here's the difficulty of meeting at multiple houses. Right now, CLC, the actual building, is probably more central to all of us. Like if we were to put a pinpoint on CLC and then draw a circle, most people live somewhere within 15 miles of CLC. So that means, for example, that if you're living in Kennett Square, it takes you 12 to 15 minutes to get here. But if your small group isn't meeting at CLC, but it's meeting in Oxford, now you're talking about a 30-minute drive. And not only that, but you're also talking about finding a house you've never been to before. Now, where this gets complicated is that means that a lot of times small groups end up starting later because people are actually trying to find the house. Now, you can overcome this by, at least doing it once, allowing more time for people to get there. But I think just to be aware of that is really important. So location is important for this. As I said in the last video, it's also possible to meet here if you'd like to. There are some nights that are freer than others, and so that's one of the things that you can consider as well. And again, because CLC does tend to be sort of that pinpoint for people's lives around, where their locations around this facility, that might work for you as well. So I want you to think about frequency, challenge to meet the 6 times in a row, and then you can re-covenant and sort of decide what you want the rhythm to be. Think about location. Continue to think about covenant, okay? You're going to invite people into a group. They're going to want to know what's going on. So one of the things that we have planned, and I wanted to make sure to talk about this in this video also, is that on September 9th, we're actually hosting a small group ministry fair here at church. It will be held after each of the morning services. So at basically 10:10, there will be one, and then again, right after that second service, about 11:30, 11:40, we'll be having a ministry fair. We would really love it if you could be here for that. As a leader, if you could bring and just actually submit to us as soon as you can, sort of a description of your group, what works for you. See, so here's the deal. Leaders have to pick a day and a time that works for them. It's not up to you to adjust for all the people that might be in your group, but you need to pick a time that works for you. And here's why. Because if in a month you feel like you can't meet on Thursday night anymore, that's going to be a problem for the whole group. So we want you to pick a time and a day that actually works best for your schedule so that you can sustain this in your own schedule as well. Then what we want you to do also is just be thinking about, what are the things we're going to do and how are we going to engage people to do those? So that's a really important thing for you to be thinking about. So when people come to your table or your area, they can actually meet you on September 9th. They can actually hear a little bit about what you're planning about the group. They can make a decision about whether that's a group that would work for them or not. And let me say too that this is one of the blessings of all this small group ministry is we have some people that are really willing to run some very cool groups. Like for example, we have a group forming that's for people that are just going through a divorce, and we have another group forming that is for people that parents that have lost a child. I mean, that's an amazing ministry there. And then we have another group that's forming for veterans that are maybe still dealing with a little post-traumatic shock syndrome. I mean, so these are really, really sort of wonderfully need-centered groups. So we want to make sure to highlight those as well. So if you would please send me your description, send me your date, location, as much as you can about your group. We're planning on putting together a little brochure that we can hand out hopefully about Labor Day weekend. And then on the 9th of September, we'll actually have this small group ministry fair and give people a chance to meet you face to face. Now, obviously, if you're not able to be there that day, let me know that too, because that's obviously pretty important. If we want people to meet you, it'd be nice to have you there. So anyway, we'll figure this all out. So, hey, thank you again for being willing to lead a group. This is so awesome. We're just excited about all that God's going to do through you. And we're excited because we know you can do this. And we just want to help you. We want to support you in doing this and hope that this is going to bring a great deal of joy and purpose and a sense of mission into your life. So thanks again, and we'll be back at you soon with more.